Sometimes you meet someone who seems to embody perfection. They remain unfazed under immense pressure, always display impeccable politeness, and generously dedicate their time to others. Yet beneath this nearly flawless exterior lies something elusive, something that defies logical explanation, but leaves behind a strange, almost unsettling feeling. Perhaps the true threat to well-being and peace doesn't lie in overt displays of turbulent emotions or aggressive outbursts, but in something far more hidden and imperceptible. One of the 20th century's most profound thinkers, Carl Jung, warned humanity about a particular type of individual who masterfully blends into their surroundings, remaining completely unnoticed. These individuals often command universal admiration and are sometimes even praised for their seemingly exemplary qualities. However, behind this meticulously constructed, almost ideal facade lies a dark truth that most people would prefer never to confront. So uncomfortable can it be. This isn't about the familiar archetypes of liars, cunning manipulators, or overt narcissists whose negative traits are obvious to an attentive observer. The person Jung warned against most persistently is someone rarely suspected of anything bad, precisely because their behavior bears no resemblance to a threat. They exude calm, their words are reasoned, and their actions are thoughtful and deliberate. In this deep analysis, we will delve into Jung's understanding of human nature to uncover that hidden, yet crucially important trait that distinguishes truly dangerous people among us. By the end of this exploration, viewers may develop a completely new perspective, not only on those around them, but perhaps on themselves as well. The eminent thinker Carl Jung asserted that every person wears a kind of psychological shell, a mask. He called this mask the persona, the very face an individual presents to the external world. It is through the persona that a person successfully functions in society, gains approval from others, and feels secure in their eyes. However, behind this carefully constructed mask lies something far more complex and multifaceted, a deeper layer of the psyche that Jung termed the unconscious. And within the depths of this unconscious resides the shadow. The shadow, contrary to popular misconceptions, is not the embodiment of evil or some monstrous aspect of the personality. Its true nature is pure honesty. It contains everything an individual has been forced to reject in themselves to conform to societal norms and expectations, untamed emotions, forbidden desires, accumulated pain, and a deep yearning for control, love, and truth. During childhood, a person learns which character traits and behaviors are considered acceptable and which are not. Society generously praises obedience, courtesy, and modesty. At the same time, anger, boldness, excessive curiosity, or any manifestation of difference are tacitly condemned and punished. As a result, individuals begin to meticulously hide these undesirable parts of their nature. But herein lies a key paradox. What we hide does not disappear without a trace. It merely lies dormant, awaiting its moment. In the depths of the shadow reside not only a person's so-called flaws, but also their true strength, their instincts, their power, and their unique voice. When these parts are ignored or suppressed, they do not remain passive. On the contrary, they become distorted, gain hidden power, and begin to manifest in the most unexpected and sometimes destructive forms through anxiety attacks, symbolic dreams, or mechanisms of self-sabotage. This is why Carl Jung asserted that what is not made conscious will inevitably govern one's life, and one will mistakenly call it fate. When an individual is convinced they have transcended anger, jealousy, and egoism, they typically lose the ability to see how these very traits exert a dominant influence over them. Such individuals claim they are merely offering support, but are, in fact, exercising complete control. They declare they are setting boundaries, yet in reality, they are punishing others. They insist they radiate love, but this love is infused with hidden resentment. Notably, they deceive not so much those around them as, first and foremost, themselves. Carl Gustav Jung interpreted this dynamic as a spiritual ailment. This occurs not because people are inherently evil, but because they are alienated from their own inner world. and the more persistently they deny this internal discord, the more inevitably those around them suffer. This is precisely why some of the most destructive individuals one might encounter do not appear threatening at all. They may seem spiritual, compassionate, and balanced, yet they are engaged in an invisible war with their own essence, a conflict of which they are entirely unaware. Now, let's consider the most intriguing aspect. The more tenaciously a person clings to the image of a virtuous individual, the more significantly their unconscious part, or shadow, grows in a hidden mode, beginning to find its own loopholes for manifestation. This can express itself through caustic remarks, passive-aggressive behavior, or a desire for total control over others, artfully disguised as expressions of care and involvement. However, the more strongly an individual refuses to acknowledge the presence of internal dark sides, the more these unconscious aspects of the personality independently find ways to express themselves. The essence is not to hurl accusations at others, but to achieve genuine clarity of vision. The great thinker Jung never advocated for the complete eradication of one's shadow. On the contrary, he was deeply convinced that its integration, that is, an honest and compassionate confrontation with the unconscious aspects of the personality, is the fundamental key to achieving wholeness. When an individual dares to admit to themselves, yes, the capacity for anger lives within me, yes, at times I resort to manipulation, yes, I have desires whose nature I do not understand, it is at this moment that the true process of personal growth begins. Only then does a person become truly reliable and trustworthy, not because they have achieved perfection, but solely due to a deep awareness of their inner manifestations. Jung's warning was not directed against malicious people as such. It concerned those who stubbornly pretend that no darkness exists within their soul. For when a person refuses internal self-analysis, they inevitably begin to project their flaws and conflicts outward. Such an individual is prone to blaming their boss, their life partner, society as a whole, but never asks themselves, what exactly am I refusing to see in myself? And it is precisely this person who poses the greatest danger. This is the one who systematically avoids self-reflection, who stubbornly insists on their unconditional righteousness. This is the one who ostentatiously wears their virtue like reliable armor, yet secretly harbors deep resentment toward the world for insufficient, in their opinion, recognition and praise. Such individuals become a mystery even to themselves, and a mystery cloaked in a dense veil of denial inevitably transforms into chaos. However, there is also good news that sheds light on the nature of the so-called shadow. It is not there to destroy a person, as it sometimes seems. On the contrary, its true purpose is to awaken the hidden depths of their being. It is in this part of the personality that one's authentic inner fire, unique voice, and deepest truth are concentrated. When an individual dares to look at it not with judgment, but with sincere and impartial honesty, they gradually begin to reclaim their lost inner strength. This is why the message formulated by Carl Gustav Jung carried no undertones of fear or threat. On the contrary, it represented a powerful call to true courage. This courage lay in an individual's willingness to look deeply within themselves and openly admit, I am not only an embodiment of light, but also a bearer of shadow, and I must accept and carry both these sides of my being. Such awareness marks the true beginning of wisdom. It is from this point that genuine, unbreakable personal integrity originates. It should always be remembered that the most dangerous person in society is not the one who acknowledges and feels the presence of their own inner darkness. On the contrary, it is the one who stubbornly pretends that such a shadow is entirely absent from their nature. Therefore, it is extremely important to be attentive, directing your gaze not only at others, but, above all, at yourself. For the deeper one can penetrate into the essence of other people, the more strongly one is invited to explore the uncharted depths of their own soul, discovering new facets of understanding and awareness within themselves.